And then we did a pulled pork mac and cheese barbecue pizza. We did regular sauce on it, right? Cheese base, then put mac and cheese on top of it, pulled pork on top of it, threw it in the oven, let it go, pulled it out, and then drizzled our barbecue sauce right over the top of it.
What's going on, Pizza Fam? Look, I appreciate each one of you for listening to this show, listening to this episode. Before we get back to it, I wanted to tell you about my favorite product right now, Todd's Curry Sauce. I met these guys at the Florida Restaurant Show, Pizza Tomorrow Summit, and I'm telling you, ever since I tried that sauce, I have been putting it on everything in the shop. Chicken wings, pizza, you've seen the pizzas, chicken sandwich, salad dressing, like we've been putting Todd's Curry Sauce on everything, and I'm here to give you a special deal, special offer. Go to their website, toddscurrysauce.com, use code Pizza King, and get 10% off your next order. I promise you, you only need to try it one time. It's going to be the best curry sauce you ever tasted in your life. You're going to start putting it on all kinds of stuff in your shop, even at home. I got a bottle in the pantry here at the house. I got a bottle at the shop. Elliot, Todd, I need another bottle because I'm putting it everywhere. I'm putting it on everything. So go check it out. Use code Pizza King and get 10% off your next order. Peace. Let's get back to it. All right, so we are live. Very special guests all the way from St. Augustine, Florida. Mikey and Amanda from Fire Smoke BBQ. Although you probably can't even really call it Fire Smoke BBQ because it's like Fire and Smoke Barbecue Empire over there in St. Augustine. So can't wait to introduce these guys to you and let you hear their story. So please introduce yourselves and tell us who we got joining the Pizza King family today.
Yeah. You want to start?
Okay, sure. I'll start. My name is Mikey. I am the pitmaster at Fire and Smoke BBQ and kind of our culinary force. I've been cooking since I was about 13 years old. Really started taking it seriously probably 15 or 16 years ago, which really makes me feel old right now because it feels like it was not 15 years ago, right? You start thinking about aging and you're like, wait a minute, it was.
No, it was 2003. Like,
yeah, exactly. It was 2003. You know what I mean? But started taking it seriously, and we decided to open up a company called Fire and Smoke Barbecue Company in 2017. Me and my wife did it together. She's been in the restaurant world for most of her life, and I'll let her kind of tell her little story. But it started small, and we were still small, but we started growing. You know what I mean? We started slowly growing. We started up in Chicago about 2 years ago. We decided to move down here to St. Augustine and kind of start rebuilding. And in a sense, we're rebuilding from scratch. In a sense,
new customers, new area,
doing everything again in a little different way. But I think the only benefit of that is we kind of already know what somewhat works and what doesn't, right? When you're doing something the second time, it's a little cheaper. You're not paying for the lessons like you did the first time.
Hell yeah.
So that's kind of where we are right now. We are currently in the works of re-putting our truck up somewhere and trying to put it in a permanent spot. But we do all of our online seasonings and sauce sales, and then we do different events where we sell that. And then I teach culinary classes, and we're always trying to spread the love of barbecue in a sense. And that's kind of the main force behind everything.
Pitmaster, spreading barbecue love. I love it. But who's right? Who's next to you? I see the boss there too.
Yeah, this is the boss. She's the main force behind it all.
Yes, I'm Amanda. I'm boss lady. Like Mikey said, I've been in the restaurant industry for probably 15 years. I've done just about every position imaginable, started from a hostess all the way up to a manager. But
when she says every position imaginable, she means front of house.
Yeah, I guess that is true.
She means front of house. She can't get back with us in the
Expo was about the closest to back of house I could get, but I won't lie, I'm not the best cook. I can bake, but
that counts.
It does, 'cause I can't bake.
Baking counts.
I do the baking, and then I let him do the rest. But yeah, once you get out of manager, I guess the next step is business owners. Started taking over this, and I have kind of, I'm not super extroverted myself. So, I mostly manage the back of house, make sure that he gets his job taken care of, that he has the events to cook for and all those things. But
So
yeah,
you're behind the scenes putting it all together and
I try, yeah.
making the fire and smoke world go.
Yeah,
I don't think
it's my specialty. And most people would probably say working with your spouse is no easy thing, but we've made it work for the past 6 years now. So
No, you got to have some fun together. And I mean, with a business like what you guys have, I'm sure they're too busy for the small stuff.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. There's none of that.
Weaknesses and it works for us.
It does, absolutely.
Aside from that,
when y'all moved down from Chicago, did you feel like there was a change in what the customer wanted? Like you had built a business in Chicago and then you come to Florida. Was it totally different, or did you already have a product that was so good it didn't matter where you took it?
That's a great question. Because we had in a way, we had kind of done it in a smart way. We knew we wanted to come down to Florida. It wasn't like, let's move to Florida type thing. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like a one, up and let's go type thing. So we had come down probably a year to a year and a half beforehand and did a couple events in the area.
Well, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Tested the market out.
I got the feel for it.
Let people see our name.
Let the names start coming into play. We already had the product line, so we had a couple retailers around here that were selling it.
That was genius.
So it was just kind of one of those things where it was like, let's get down there and let's go down early and start talking to people. You know what I mean? Like, let's get product into people's hands. Let's have it sitting in people's spice racks and stuff like that. So when they're
your business had moved here even before you guys did.
Yeah. Kind of
I like that. That's genius. And I guess it makes it a whole lot less intimidating to pick up and change regions like that.
Yeah.
But I know you're not missing Chicago winter.
No.
Definitely not.
No.
It's like snowing up there.
What were you cooking before you decided to become pitmaster?
So I've always loved barbecue. I've always loved grilling and stuff like that. I've worked in pizza kitchens. I've worked in a Mexican restaurant. I've worked in an American restaurant, which was basically kind of like bar food in the sense of like
grill and fryer.
We did a lot of burgers. We did a lot of, fries. We did a lot of like chicken sandwiches, did some wraps and stuff like that, but nothing that was like super crazy or intense. It was a very, very bar food restaurant. And
those are busy though.
They are very, very busy. It teaches you how to kind of cope under pressure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did Checkers for years and we had 13 locations, and I'm telling you, fast food will change your life. Like when you got 3 minutes and you got to get this stuff done, it changes the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And like growing up, one of my best friend's parents owned a pizza restaurant. So, we've done everything from dishwashing to making dough to, doing all that just because it was like, you guys want to make some extra money? Yeah. Okay, cool. Dishwasher called out today, so guess who's a dishwasher today? You know what I mean? So you start where you start. And what I did probably in 2000, what was it, 2013 that it started? Yeah. So I started a podcast in 2013 called Man Me Barbecue, the podcast. And I just started talking to as many barbecue people as I possibly could. I mean, this was like the beginning of like Instagram era, and kind
podcasting
podcasting in general. Thing is, like, I had a sales job at that time, and I was in the car a lot, and I was like, I really want to listen to a barbecue podcast, and I couldn't find one that I wanted to listen to. So then I created one, and like our neighbor where we lived in the city, our neighbor he worked for Columbia College doing like radio broadcasting and podcasting and all this kind of stuff. Like that's what he was teaching. And I'm like, help me do this. And he was like, just start doing it. And I was like, yeah, but I suck at it. He's like, everyone sucks at it. The first episodes are going to suck. No one is going to. He's like, but it doesn't matter. He's like, that's the whole point. You don't want anyone to listen to those episodes because you will slowly, progressively get better. So people will start to like the podcast more and more. So I started the podcast, and obviously I was cooking and doing all that stuff already. A good friend of mine, we would cook all the time, and it just slowly, the wheels started cranking, right? And as
So
the
you
podcast,
talking barbecue, but
the
still going back to the sales job every day.
exactly. But then I started getting people that were like, "Hey, could you cater our party?" Sure, legally no, but
I'll
it's
do it.
underground barbecue. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that underground barbecue life, and I think all like barbecue guys start like an underground way, you know what I mean? Just this natural progression of starting. And we, it was like, can you cater my party? Sure. So we catered this party, we catered that party. And then it was like, hey, I heard you catered this person's party and the food was really good. I was wondering if you could cater this party. And we are like, okay. So then we started like going, well, how can we make this legal? And that's when like she was like, well, I know more paperwork than you do.
Boss lady stepped in.
Yeah.
I stepped in.
You know what I mean? Like I can do the cooking end of it. Now keeping me legal may not be my best traits. But so we started like kind of swaying that way. And then we started looking at like, okay, well, how do we get more and more people want to taste the food? So we were both into beer. We were both kind of into the brewery scene of Chicago, and we started looking at like, okay, a lot of these places don't have kitchens. They're focusing just on beer, and they're really good at that, and that's what they do. So what if we do pop-ups? And there were already a couple people that were starting to do pop-ups. Not like I invented pop-ups or anything, but people were starting to do pop-ups and doing all that. And I was like, well, what if we start doing them? So we talked to a couple of our brewery friends, and they were like, yeah, we'd love to have you guys. Cool.
Instantly they were with it.
Yeah, they were in.
Did you make money with those early pop-ups?
No. I think we thought we made money.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, no, probably not. Like expenses were, super high, and
You didn't know what to charge.
And you exactly.
Yeah.
You don't know what the market's willing to pay. And I'm not saying go out there and charge a ton of money, but like know your worth in a sense, right? And charge what's fair and what the market is willing to pay, and what you have to charge. I think that's one of the hard things for barbecue is it should be the most expensive damn food on the face of the planet with how much work we put into it and how many hands it goes through.
I mean, you talk about time and cost. I mean, beef goes through the roof sometimes.
It does.
And I mean, I'm no pitmaster. I'm actually afraid of anything related to the smoker because I couldn't imagine putting 6, 8, 10 hours into something and then I destroyed it. I'd die. I couldn't do a brisket to save my life.
It won't be that bad, I promise. The first will suck, but
Well, you teach, so what I have to do is link up for a class, so you can try to.
90th will be perfectly fine. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where like it just takes time. It's just like pizza, and it's just like dough. When you're rolling out a dough ball, you know that dough ball is good. You know what I mean? Like you have it in your hands, you have that feel. Where the first dough ball you rolled out, you didn't know if it was going to be good or not. You know what I mean? Like you didn't have that muscle memory and that feel, and that's where cooking is to me. Like I can pick up a brisket and be like, it's ready.
Yeah, you just got the feel. You just know. So as you're doing pop-ups and you're starting to grow and your word of mouth is building, so you're building a name for yourself. Did you at that point decide that, okay, let's brand it Fire and Smoke? What was it like, developing the brand and then actually becoming a business? What was that process like?
So when we were looking at it, because everyone was like, why don't you just go off the podcast name? Because the podcast had a pretty big following, and they were like, why don't you just do it that way? I was like, because the podcast name is Man Meat Barbecue, and I'm like, and no corporate company is going to hire Man Meat Barbecue to cook their corporate.
Like they don't want to send that invoice.
Exactly. Like same thing. Like we were like, we want to be able to do weddings and stuff like that. And it's like, no one wants to be like, Man Meat Barbecue catered my wedding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
on the t-shirt, in the photos in the background.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, what's a good, what's a cleaner name? Kind of trying to figure stuff out, and we settled on Fire and Smoke, and we just kind of branded it under that, and we did our first pop up under Fire and Smoke Barbecue Company, and it was not great. We probably lost somewhere around $400 or $500 doing it, and that was all under just miscommunication of how much we're cooking and how much we're doing. I think what people don't understand with barbecue is you got to make sure the customer understands what you're doing. And
how does that, so what do you mean you got to make sure they understand?
Well, like regionally of where you are, and then just the idea of how much to cook. So for us, it was, okay, how many briskets do we cook at first? How many pork shoulders do we cook at first? And we also were giving, like, we're like, oh, we're gonna give all these options on the menu. And we quickly realized that's not a good idea. Giving a menu that was, this long was not a great idea. Let's streamline that menu and kind of almost do it like the In-N-Out way, right? You got 3 options. You're having this, or this. Congratulations, you're picking one.
I imagine folks really probably don't know what they want anyways, or they don't know what 5 pounds of brisket really does, or how many people that feeds, or what that means. They're just like, I got 50 people, can you do this? So how do you educate them on when doing that? Well, you're not doing pop-ups anymore now, right? You're working on, you got the truck, the trailer.
Yeah.
But as you were growing the pop-up business, how do you teach them, like, all right, how many people can you expect, and let me make sure we don't run out of food?
So we were till sold out.
Okay.
We always posted all of our hours at breweries. It was 5 till sold out. And one of the tricks that we did is we cooked a lot less food at first. I'm talking like a lot less food to make sure that sold out.
No waste. Yeah.
There was very little waste. The other reason was scarcity draws business. And I was always a very big believer in working people down my menu, and I still am. I want certain things to sell out so that my next things start to move.
Okay.
Right? So if I know item A is my biggest seller and my fastest seller, I'm cooking the least of it.
So now they move on to the chicken, or they move on to the sauce, to the links. I get it.
You always see, dude, that item sold out. I bet you it was really good.
I got to get there earlier next time.
I got to get there earlier. I got to get there faster. I got to get there sooner. I got to make sure that I'm able to get that item next time.
You're going to have folks competing to be neighbors. Like,
yeah.
I got to move on the street.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing.
You know what I mean? So it slowly, like, it becomes that, like, that scarcity, and that I want that item. And like we got known for our pork belly burnt ends. So that was one of the things that, like, when we first started, man, I would cook maybe like 3 or 4 servings of pork belly burnt ends so that they would sell out fast. Then it started, okay, we'll cook a full belly. Okay, a full belly turned into a belly and a half. A belly and a half turned into 2 bellies of pop-up.
It's still selling out every time.
And it's just, they're gone every single time.
Nice. At what point did folks start to approach you? And I think what I really want the audience to know is that you taking this in, I know it's been, 11 years, but it all happened really quickly in my mind, like, to go from what you're saying now at pop-up and let's figure out this brand to, all right, we got a line of, sounded like, what was 6, 7 seasonings?
We got 6 seasonings.
6 seasonings and a sauce and a trailer. How did that happen so quickly?
So we were doing pop-ups and people started asking for flavors. People are like, I really like your pork flavor. I really like it. It's not like, they're like, it's not like most other ones. And when I was developing most of our flavors, I didn't want to use something that was off the shelf. I didn't want to for two reasons. I wanted to make it our own. I wanted to make sure that what we were putting out was not a copy of a different restaurant, or somebody at home was like, this tastes exactly like this seasoning off the shelf. I know that type thing. And the other thing is, I am a firm believer in any cooks over 4 hours need to not contain any sugar. I think sugar burns, it caramelizes, and it tastes disgusting. Now, some people say, oh, you get beautiful bark from that because it turns black and, it gives you that nice bark. That's not real bark. You can develop bark without using,
if you know what you're doing,
without using sugars. So I'm a firm believer in that. So when we were developing our seasonings, I wanted to make sure that it didn't have the things in it that I didn't like. I didn't want any fillers. I didn't want any of that kind of stuff. And like I said, I didn't want anything from off of a shelf. And when you're in a restaurant, it's a lot easier to do that. So we developed that, and then people started asking for those flavors because they liked them. So I was like, okay, let's put out our pork and chicken seasoning, which was our Windy City, which was the first one, as the problem child that started it all.
Is it still most popular?
Is one of the most popular, and then our shiitake is our definitely most popular, which is, I'll get into that one and why it's our most popular and why it's my problem child completely. But we started putting that out, and it just started kind of snowballing and growing by itself. And we worked out of a commercial kitchen in Chicago, so we were hand bottling everything. We were hand stickering it, hand bottling everything. We didn't go to a co-packer. We did it all in house. And so it'd be like days where me and her would just literally get into the kitchen and start. She's mixing seasonings off our recipe. I'm bottling it and stickering it, and we're putting it in boxes and sending it out.
Hey, that's the beginnings of a good business.
And then it became we had an employee, and we were like, hey, you want to come on a Wednesday and just hang out in the kitchen with us, listen to music, and you could just sticker bottles? And she was like, yeah, sure. So then it became like a 3-man team, and then it started growing and whatever. And as that started growing, the hard thing in the seasoning world and the seasoning game is you got to stay relevant, and you have to kind of put out new product, right? So then we launched our brisket rub, which our brisket rub, I think, is the way that I do our brisket rub is I put 2 different grinds of black pepper in it. You got a fine and you got a coarse grind in there to really help you build that bark for you and give you that nice peppery bite at the end of it. It's going to withstand that cooking process. I developed it because I wanted something that was, really nice and peppery and really stood up to that fatty beef, and people loved it. And like the funny thing is, like, we say that we're a Texas style brisket, but we didn't serve our brisket with bread like most Texas places do. We found out really fast that a lot of people didn't eat the bread and they were just throwing it away. And I was like, I just can't justify throwing like 3 loaves of bread away a day
Just to serve it, just to give it away.
just to give it away. You know what I mean? So we switched it up, and I was like, what can we do? I'm like, what if we did cornbread? And I was like, yeah, let's do cornbread. So let's give it a try. You know what I mean? Like, what's the worst that can happen? So we tried cornbread, and then cornbread started, like, I don't know what happened. It was just like magic. It was like we started the first time we did, like, I think 20 pieces of cornbread and sold out like immediately out of it. And I was like, okay, so we need to do we'll do 40. We'll do 2 half pans. And then it was like, okay, to the point where, I mean, our events at the end in Chicago, we were doing like 6 to 8 pans of cornbread.
Time? Oh my goodness.
Every single time.
So now you go from throwing bread away to selling cornbread.
To selling cornbread, and we just sold it for $1.
Yeah. Oh, that's
no
brainer. Love that.
But we put it with the brisket, so everyone got it with the brisket, and then they'd be like, "Can I get an extra piece of cornbread because it's only $1?"
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. You know what I mean? And like, it just worked, and so the season, everything was just kind of working, and The seasoning line worked. We would season everything. We seasoned our cornbread with our Windy City. Our mac and cheese gets our classic. So does our coleslaw. And we do kind of an interesting coleslaw. We do a mayo and vinegar base, and you kind of took over the coleslaw at one point, and she probably makes it better than I do.
There it is.
She started making the coleslaw, and everyone, like, we had people that were like, I don't like coleslaw, but I like yours.
Are you like obligated to cook at all family functions now?
I try not to, but it happens.
But it happens. You got to bring something.
It's definitely expected, and it has actually gotten to the point where it's preferred. like
we'll pay for it, dude.
Example,
just do it.
Like we'll have Uncle Tom say, "Hey, can I want to make the turkey this year?" Like, please don't. I know somebody else who can make it, and it won't be dry.
Mikey's like, but I was trying a new turkey this year. Let's just do this instead.
Sometimes it's just easier to be like, I don't necessarily want to do it, but we're going to offer because we want to eat it.
We want to have a good event. Is the seasoning customer different from the barbecue walk up trailer customer? Is that a different person?
Absolutely.
And how do you attract the seasoning customer? Is it because I'm thinking the seasoning guy is a guy that is you 10 years before you at that point, who's trying to figure it out and trying to get better at his craft, and he's trying to do it himself. Is that the seasoning customer?
I think the seasoning customer is very similar to that, yeah. Or it's the person that is just looking for good quality seasonings. Like, we developed our shiitake, which is one of the most intense seasonings I think I've ever developed in my life.
How so?
And it's one of those things where I was trying to get a smoky flavor into something without using fake smoke flavor, right?
Okay.
And I wanted a super umami flavor without using MSG.
You're going to take the longest path.
Yeah.
To get there.
Yeah, like how do I find the longest path? And that's the path I'm going to take. So what I did is I was like, what if we take shiitake mushrooms and we smoke them, and then we dehydrate them, and then we grind them, and then we put them into the seasoning? And this one over here was like, that's a great idea. Why don't we do that? So we did that. And then we realized that it's a 24 to 28 hour process to do all that. And we developed a seasoning around that.
Now I know why that's the problem child.
It's the problem child.
It takes longer than the barbecue.
Yeah.
It immediately started winning awards. It was the most popular, like, for good reason. It's unlike anything else on the market. So yeah, it's,
So what's the best use for it? We're gonna get, everybody needs to go where first off, where they buy it.
Is where you can get it. You can also check our store locator on there and see if there's anywhere local to you to pick it up.
Okay.
I believe we're available in 110 stores nationwide now.
That's awesome.
So we've been, trying to get stores every day. If a local store doesn't carry it, go tell them to carry it. Help us out. Word of mouth always is the best. And as we developed that seasoning, it was one of those things where it was just like, how do I get the most rich flavor out of it? I pulled up we were doing an event at a farmer's market, and one of the guys was selling shiitake mushrooms. And I pulled up to him and rolled my window down. I'm like, hey, how much are your shiitake mushrooms? And he's like, they're $14 a pound. And I'm like, okay, but I need 60 pounds. So how much is it at 60 pounds? And I think this kid almost fell over. He was like, he's like, I have 4 pounds with me. You know what I mean? I'm like, I need 60. And he's like, let me call my boss. So he gets on the phone. He's like, this dude wants 60 pounds. I don't know if he's crazy or what. And he's like, tell him we can have him for him next week.
Let's say, is it difficult to source products at that scale?
At that point, I didn't even know how to source that crazy scale. So 60 pounds was crazy to me.
It sounds, it's more than I've ever seen in any store ever.
Yeah. So we did 60 pounds the first time. and it was 60 pounds. We were ordering 60 pounds a month. And then it became 60 pounds every 2 weeks. And then it became 80 pounds every 2 weeks. And then it became, I need 80 pounds every week.
Whoa.
And then it became, I need 120 pounds every week. To the point where he was like, he's like, I can't.
I can't even do that. Wow.
He's like, the problem is, he's like, you will be taking all of my mushrooms from me.
He makes more money selling it at smaller quantities to the other guys. He makes
more money selling it at smaller quantities because I'm buying it at wholesale. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. So now we're starting to look for another mushroom dealer. We talked to one lady once, and I was like, hey, I'm like, I need like 60 pounds. And she just laughed at me. She's like, that's not going to happen for me. She's like, I don't grow that much.
She's like, I need 60 pounds.
I'm like, I need it every week too. Now, Amanda found a farm that we work with, and they're a commercial farm, and they're able to keep up with our demand currently. And I believe we do about 750 pounds of mushrooms every month.
Goodness.
Now, if you wonder how much a mushroom weighs, it's damn near nothing.
That's a lot.
Yeah, a lot of mushrooms.
That's a whole truckload. Goodness. Yeah.
And that's just
so how are you still at this point part of the process of, just manufacturing? I know you got to work with a co-packer or somebody at this point.
We do, yeah.
But how hands-on are you with the process still?
We're very hands-on in a sense. Like, we want to make sure that the quality stays the quality that it needs to stay. We still handle a ton of it, and there's always like, quality control, and we'll go in and make sure that everything's getting mixed right and all that stuff is happening correctly. And especially if we're developing something new, our co-packer is fantastic. They're willing to work with us. Like, I can go in there and kind of almost in a sense have free reign to create what I need to create. And don't quote me on that, because I don't know if they do it for everybody. I'm pretty sure they don't. But it's one of those things where we work very closely with them, and it's like, shiitake's constantly the problem child of either selling out or shiitake's on back order because the mushroom smoking process takes a couple days.
Right. Are there any seasonal effects on it?
There are not, just because the grow house is down here, so they
can handle it constantly.
Yeah.
What do you do? What are you still creating?
Always.
What's been all the time? Does it ever get to the point where you're like, okay, that I've gone too far?
Probably. But it's always like, I'm always thinking of something new. And I have this like weird like habit where if something hits me, I have to create it like immediately. So like I will literally be doing stuff and I'll be like, I gotta get this out. Like
that's your notepad. You gotta just go do it.
I gotta do it. And then she's like, you just got everything out. I have a array of spices that I like kind of use that I keep. And then it's like, hey, can you order this for me? Hey, can you do?
I always try, and I hate myself because I always try, and I like to cook here at home, but I'll make something and it'll be fantastic, and I have no clue what I put in it. How do you, as part of that process, your creative process, track it well enough to know, like, okay, this is the one. Let's recreate this one.
I weigh everything.
Every time.
Everything.
Yeah, he does. He's good at weighing and writing everything down. So then when we test that one, it's like, okay, well, it needs more pepper. And then at least you know how much pepper you started with. You add more. And
very nice.
So he wasn't that way the first couple times. And it was a struggle to recreate something good. Like, so eventually I'm like, you have to write it down. I am buying you a scale. Here you go.
So that was part of your process too, the evolution. Like, okay, if we're going to be serious about this, let's make sure that we're keeping good notes, we're tracking everything.
Yeah.
And we're going to do something that makes sense.
Like I have a notebook like that's just literally like it's just dedicated to that, and it holds all our recipes in it, all and it holds recipes that haven't been created yet either, that are just in that notebook. And it's like we were out with I had it with me, and we were over at our one of our co-packers, and our buddy who works there, he's like, so does this hold all the magic?
The whole everything right there,
Yeah.
Mhm.
handcuffed to the
Yeah.
wrist.
Like it's right there. I'm like, that's all of it. We're currently working on a Japanese barbecue sauce. That's one of the things that we're working on right now. And both of us really enjoy those flavors, and we cook a lot of that kind of stuff at home. And I kind of have been throwing together like different sauces and whatever. And I was like, what if we make one of these? I'm like, this would be a really good sauce to add to the line. Whenever we're like looking to add to our line, I'm always kind of looking to be different.
You told me before we started recording that you were adamant about not getting into the sauce business.
Yeah, I know. I'm really good at it. I'm really good.
Like you said, we met the right people to make it happen. See, with dry seasonings, you can make that as long as you're in a certified kitchen, which we had for the food trailer. You can make that yourself, and that's okay. Now, when you go into sauces and it being a cooking process, you need to have the FDA involved. There's a lot more
Oh, okay.
logistics behind like getting it on a shelf, and that's why we were very adamant, because we just didn't have the capacity of doing it ourselves like we did the dry line.
I mean, you can do it yourself in a sense. The only problem is like you have to take meticulous notes, right, for the FDA. Because if they ever come back to you and say, okay, this sauce made somebody sick, or this sauce exploded, or this did whatever, then you have to go back to them and be like, well, it was this, 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 and this before it left my facility. Which the facility that we work with, it's called Endorphin Farms. They're based out of St. Augustine, Florida. They're fantastic. They really are. For lack their better way of saying it, they give a shit, and that's a hard part to
That
really
matters a lot.
that matters. You know what I mean? Like they really care about the product that leaves their warehouse with your name on it. They care about it just as much as you care about it leaving, because they know that if they don't do a good job, well, no one's going to recommend them. You know what I mean? And we're going to go sell our product as hard as possible, and we want it to look as best as possible for us. So they're like, why wouldn't we want to give them the best product to sell? So being like developing that relationship has been phenomenal, because that helped us put our sauce into a bottle, and really get that out there. And I mean, I never thought the sauce was going to sell quite as fast as it started selling.
And when did you launch the sauce?
Last year in
March. So it's been almost a year.
Almost a year now, and you have sauce and seasonings in over 100 retailers.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. How much do you have to push that on your own? Like, that doesn't happen by accident. How do you get your sauce into that amount of retailers?
Daily grind every day, trying to talk to new people every day, trying to get out in front of people, trying to the hard part is getting it into the store, but the other hard part is moving it off the shelf. And that's the big part is, we're constantly making content, constantly making social media content to try to show how to use our seasonings, how to use our sauces, how to use them in different ways. Because the problem is the life of a seasoning is super long. You know what I mean? Like you get a bottle, unless that person really cooks a lot,
You're going to have it for a long time
there's people that have that bottle for quite a long time.
until it expires.
I need that shit to move. You know what I mean?
So then you encourage them with different recipes, like we talked about earlier with the pasta and the chicken.
Yeah.
So you encourage recipes, and that helps folks to use the product. Because I saw it, and it had Wendy's seasoning on two different things in there.
Yeah. So it's like use the product. We started to do. I think it was a year and a half ago, or was it 2 years ago? It was 2 years ago. that we started our soup series. Like we
Yeah.
started seeing people like doing soups, and it was like I got and it started, but the soup series started before the soup series started on social media. It started when we were back in Chicago and it was super cold, and I was just Mondays would be normally my days off. And I would just do nothing, and I wanted to cook something, but I didn't want to cook what I was cooking every day in the restaurant, right? So I was like, what can I do that's different? I was like, I'll do soups. I'll start making, and I just started, and she loves soups. So I was like, what kind of soup do you want? And she'd be like, I don't know, I want this. And I was like, okay, how do I put like a spin on, chicken noodle soup? I'm like, oh, I'll smoke the chicken and then make a broth out of all those smoked bones so it gets a nice smokiness out of it. Like we just start like I just kind of I don't know, kind of just went into my own little world and just started making soups. And I would just like deliver it to like close friends. And it was like soup Mondays. Here you go. It's this soup this week. Like, and I was just
I
like,
did this on accident. Here's something delicious. I just whip this up. Your
yeah, like I
friends
was
love you.
bored. I was just bored. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to make something. And then we started a year and or 2 years ago. We were like, what's a cool series that we could do during the winters to show off our seasonings where people are like, oh, well, maybe I'm not using as many, barbecue products or grilling products. And it's like most of our stuff doesn't contain any sugar. So you can use it on cast iron. You can use it in your pots and pans, and it's perfectly fine. It's spices. You know what I mean? So we just started doing soups. We started doing, you know, our soup Mondays and just a different soup.
Is there a recipe book coming soon? Something. How do? Because like, and we're like TikTok cooks here too, so we'll see the videos and we wanna try, we wanna recreate it. But I'm like, I learn slow, so I need to like watch the video 700 times
That's
to get
perfect.
it. It's good for you. You guys make really good content too. Who shoots the content? You guys do it on your own, or you?
Yeah, we do it together.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
kind of camera are you using?
So we're using a Canon R6.
Because I'm like, this thing is perfect.
So I'm I'm kind of a photo nerd on the side. I like the photography aspect of stuff and shooting, and it's something that I just kind of do uh as a way to unwind and stuff. So we've always been just kind of shooting our own content and doing all that. And then, this last year we really started focusing on it and trying to make it better and trying to make sure that people could really understand everything and it helps sell the product. You know what I mean? Help move the product as much as possible. So we did we shoot all our own stuff. She's a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. I go in front of the camera. She doesn't like being in front of the camera a ton. As you can see, I talk more than she does. But it's definitely one of those things where we do it together, and I set up most of the lighting and making sure everything looks the way we kind of want it to look. I'll take the stills. She shoots most of the video, and then afterwards, I go back, I go through, and I'll edit everything and put the voiceovers on it and throw it up on the interwebs.
Yeah.
We have it's crazy how much behind the scenes stuff happens that people don't see. You know what I mean? Like 90-second video that you're like, oh, that's a cool video. I watched it in 90 seconds. You're like, cool. That took 8 hours to make.
Yeah. Like, you know how many clips I threw away from this?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like that didn't happen in 90 seconds. And I think a lot of people think that like, well, you did the social media part of it. That's easy. It's really not. There's so much.
If you want it to be good, it takes an investment in time and having the right equipment and skill. So I applaud it. I see the content in that. I'm like, I'm impressed. I love watching good content, and trying to get better myself. So I saw it. I'm like, man, this is not an iPhone.
But the thing is, we used an iPhone for a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The iPhone's not horrible. It does pretty nice work. It's just like I guess when you start like you said, there's limitations, right? So you're not gonna get those nice smooth bokehs and all that kind of stuff. And there's me going into dorky photo talk, but it's like that, a real camera, a real, like, photography camera or video camera is it's gonna shoot it a little differently, and it should, because it's meant to do that. You know what I mean? And I know, like, some people are like, well, I just use, portrait and cinematic mode, and it's like, yeah, it'll get close, but it won't look exactly the same.
Well, and it'll look like everybody else's.
Yeah.
And that's what I see, that there's a clear difference in the content that you're putting out. So I respect it, and I just want to acknowledge that here too. Like, you guys are doing some damn good content.
Thank you. Thank you.
Not just from the food that makes me want to move into your neighborhood, but I can see from the technical side that you're not cutting any corners there either.
The funny thing is, moving into our neighborhood, the funny thing is, so when we moved out of Chicago, we moved out of the city and we moved to the suburbs for a while because she wanted a yard and all that expensive stuff. And so we moved into the suburbs. And like, when we first moved into the suburbs, we were like, we don't know any of our neighbors. Like, the city's so much different. You know what I mean? Like, you know everybody around you, like, 'cause you're all living like right next to each other. So we're sitting there like, how do we meet the neighbors? How do we do whatever? And I'm like, we do what we do best. I go, we cook.
Fire up the smoker.
So I'm like, we cook. So what we did is we went and like threw together, like we threw together like a quick little flyer, and like walked around to the entire neighborhood and like handed out flyers. And we were like, we're throwing a block party. I'm like, I'm smoking all this meat and everything. And I'm like, we'll see you on this date and whatever. And we did that for how many years?
Every year. I mean,
Every year for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Did it every year for like 5 years. Just did it every single year. And then we're like, hey guys, just so you know, we're like, we're moving to St. Augustine. And like, we had people that were like, well, but who's gonna throw the block?
Like, oh man, are you gonna come back for the party?
Who's gonna do this now?
Man, I bet that had to be so much fun. And are you having you have the same type of community feel here in Florida?
So it's a very cool community down here in Florida. So I feel like a lot more people like buying more local. We're like, in Chicago, yes, it's like, oh, we want to buy local, but I feel like like, it's more important down here. Like, they like seeing, oh, you're from St. Augustine, like you're made in St. Augustine too.
This is ours.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's cool. Like, people really, really like it. Like, we're able to say like, hey, the sauce is made like 7 miles that way. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't moving very far from production to your hands. You know what I mean? So we've gotten some really good feedback on that. Like I said, we're looking to get our food truck in a permanent spot here really, really soon. Hopefully we'll be able to say where we're going to be soon. And I think we're going to get some really, really nice feedback once we open those doors and kind of show St. Augustine what real barbecue is like. That's one of the hard things is, man, we do it the hard way. We don't do gas assist. I don't do pellets.
What does that mean?
And so my smoker relies strictly on throwing sticks into it.
So just pure smoke.
Pure wood, pure real fire. So if I stop feeding it fuel, that baby's going out. There's nothing that's going to kick on to keep the temperature. It is real wood fire all the time. If there ain't fuel, it ain't going.
It ain't gonna happen. No party.
No party. Nothing's getting made.
So I guess you'll update us soon when it's time to get some barbecue going. Well, I'm a pizza guy. It's a pizza show.
Yeah.
Give me, off the top of your head, best quick pizza recipe that's gonna pair well with one of your seasonings, and then I'm gonna order it today.
So our barbecue sauce makes a phenomenal barbecue pizza.
Okay.
But so we just did this past weekend, I did a pulled pork mac and cheese pizza. So
stop playing with me. What are you doing?
When we were in Chicago, there was a pizza place that we used to work with very, very closely. And they used to buy smoked chicken from us all the time for their barbecue chicken pizza. And we did two different pop-ups with them in their restaurant, right? So we did a smoked chicken barbecue pizza, and then we did a pulled pork mac and cheese barbecue pizza, and then we did the brisket and red onions barbecue pizza. So all of our stuff works really, really well on pizza. So, but like, what we did this past weekend is we did nice thin crusts, like Neapolitan style pizzas, and I smoked a small little pork shoulder for us, pulled that up, let it cool completely, and then took our mac and cheese, some regular. We did regular sauce on it, right? Cheese base, then put mac and cheese on top of it, pulled pork on top of it, threw it in the oven, let it go, pulled it out, and then drizzled our barbecue sauce right over the top of it just to finish it out. So you get a little bit of that sweetness, that peppery bite. You get some of that pork, which is a little bit fatty. That's going to give you all that, and the mac and cheese just kind of gives you that creaminess, and it's a fantastic little.
I want yours. I don't want to make that one. Yours sounds too good. All right, so get the barbecue sauce.
The barbecue sauce is phenomenal for pizza. We've done a couple different barbecue pizzas with it. Since we do a lot of like different events and all that kind of stuff, we've teamed up with Gosney a couple different times. And the Gosney sales guy that's there is always like, "Oh, I'll make a barbecue pizza with your guys' stuff." And he's always like, he's just drizzling sauce all over it. And he's like, people are like, "Wait, that's a barbecue sauce base?" And we're like, "Yeah." Instead of it being just a regular tomato base or whatever.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to try it. We'll get some barbecue sauce, and I have to get shiitake seasoning just because
for sure.
I don't want to miss out. Yeah. I got like FOMO before they sell out. All right, guys. Thank you so much for just giving us the story. Well, tell everybody where to find you. I know you're active on Instagram. You got other social media pages too?
Yeah. So we do Instagram, we do Facebook.
Yeah. So on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and YouTube, we are Fire Smoke _BBQ.
Okay.
Facebook is Fire Smoke BBQ. And then our website is fireandsmokebbq.com.
Check the website, check to find your local retailer or order directly online and you'll ship.
Yep. We ship
worldwide.
Yep.
Nice. I hope let's get some orders. I know we got folks listening in London and Australia. Yeah. Let's get some sauce and seasoning sent across the pond.
Yeah.
And support these guys just because we love their story. Anything else you want to tell the people before we go? This was fun. I love it. I can't wait till you get open because I really want to come get some barbecue. But
yeah, please do.
Yeah. Anything else you want to tell us? We didn't hear much Amanda.
I know.
She's the quiet one.
He's a talker. I don't know what to say, but yeah, no, I appreciate you guys you having us on here. It was a good time, and hopefully somebody learned something from it.
No, I think it was a great story of just, doing the work, going all in, and just showing folks that even though it looks easy, it's not easy. You're putting the work in, but if you bet on yourself and you know what you're doing, you can be successful.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you guys coming on the show.
We're always available over social media. If you guys have questions, I mean, I'll talk to people constantly and help people out and do whatever I can to get your story going also. You know what I mean? Like, let us know. We can help. You know what I mean? Like,
it's awesome.
We can if you have questions, if you have, we get it all the time where the people will come up to us and be like, "Hey, I want to do this. Can you help me?" Or I've been thinking about doing this. What steps should I take?
Yes.
What's the pathway, in a sense? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't like my answer. You know what I mean? They don't like you got to do A, B, C, D, and E before you can run. And they're like, no, I just want to run. I'm
like, just show me E.
Yeah. Show me the end game. It's like, doesn't work that way.
Nope, it sure doesn't.
So that's kind of where we're at. Like I said, guys, we'll be back out feeding people very, very soon here. And come out and see us. We're at a bunch of...
When you get the truck going, maybe if you're not crazy, I know you're going to be busy, but maybe we can come over, shoot a video, and kind of introduce the brand to everybody. From that standpoint too. I think that would be a lot of fun if we can do it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
we'd love it.
So we're not far. We come over there quite a time. We stayed at like World Golf Village or something like that over there.
We live right over there.
So it's a nice walking path, all that around there.
Yeah.
But we'll come over and check you guys out for sure.
Yeah, please do.